It's the holiday season, so why not do a wish list for college football 26? I have a lot of things I want to cover in this video, so buckle up. If y'all enjoying the content, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Go check out my Twitch. Follow me over there. We're streaming all the time. In the background of this video, we'll have the Temple series going, so feel free to check out that series as well. All right, so let's not even play with it. Let's hop right into it, man. The first thing that's going to be on my wish list, the whole concept of Dynasty for me is to take over a small program and grow that program into a 4-5-star school. Really dominate college football with that new program, whether it's Temple or another small school. I feel like the way the game was designed, it was almost to prevent that. You know, one thing, pipelines does not change. Also, school grades are fairly tough to improve. It's tough to get your conference prestige up, your school prestige up, unless you go to a different conference. So I feel like it's a couple factors that's in the game that want to keep the blue bloods, and keep the small programs as small programs. And that really goes against what I want to do with my dynasty. We gotta have some sort of dynamic pipelines, man. Some way for me, Temple University, to improve my Philadelphia pipeline, which is only a 2, compared to we have a New York pipeline, which is a 3. It got to be some way for me to improve my pipeline in my own city without having to go to program builder and going through that whole thing and having to win playoff games. That's way too much. It takes too long to even unlock that. At that point, it's not even worth it, in my opinion. So it got to be some way for us to actually, I don't want it to be easy, but I at least want it to be a way for us to change our pipelines. And then also, teams should fall off. Like, I wanted to at least be some setting, some way for the big dogs to at least fall off, and for it to be a new hierarchy, and for it to be drastic changes in a dynasty. It don't have to be every single dynasty. It could be a setting on it, but I at least want that opportunity, man. Say Georgia has 3 bad years in a row. Okay, well, maybe they still shouldn't be pulling in 2 top 5 recruiting classes every year if they're not even having winning records, you know. But in this game, they will continue to pull in those top recruiting classes no matter what record they are, because there's program prestige, and then all of the pipelines they have, all of those things will never change. So it just keeps the good programs good, and they try to keep the bad programs bad. That's why in Dynasty, you kind of see the same couple of teams winning the national championship. Every once in a while, you'll see another team sneak into the playoff, but in reality, you're really not seeing that many teams win the national championship. And it's like that in real life, but it's a video game, man. I want to have at least a way to add some diversity to that. Staying on recruiting, I want wins and losses to matter for recruiting, man. Right now, it does not matter unless you have a player that cares about championship contender as their deal breaker. Deal breaker is another thing that needs a lot of work. But right now, you could go 2-10 and you could bring in the #1 recruiting class as long as you don't recruit any players with championship contender. Real life, that is not the case, man. We seen Florida State go 2-10 this season, and they lost a lot of recruits. A lot of guys backed off, said, hey, I want to play for a program that's actually going to compete, win games. So throughout the season, if you win a game and you're going after a top recruit, well, that should have some type of impact on that recruit. Even if their motivations is not championship contender, you always want to see your program do good. And then even if you lose, you're a 5-star school, you lose to a 1-star school, well, maybe that should have a negative impact on your recruiting. In reality, it does not unless championship contender is involved. So wins and losses gotta matter in this next game, man. I think it needs to matter in this next game. Next, I want to get into decommits, man. Decommits, it's a real thing in real life, man. You don't have to make it as crazy, but in the game, it happens occasionally. If you have a championship contender guy and you start losing a lot of games, at the end of the year, it drops it below a B minus, he may decommit. But even if he does decommit, it's no announcement. It's you just have to notice. You're like, oh, what happened to my guy? I thought he was committed. Next thing you know, he's just, recruitment is back open. In real life, it's a big deal when someone decommit, you know. So we got to figure that piece out, man. First, make decommitments more often. Figure out a way, whether it's with deal breakers, whether you make, you know, everyone have their top 3 motivations. Well, each one of them, in my opinion, should be some type of deal breaker, man. If you're going to keep this same similar system, make each one of those motivations some type of deal breaker, and you got to keep at least 2 out of 3 for you to keep that prospect, or something along them lines. You got to keep an average grade of a B minus between all 3 of his motivations, you know, something like that. I just quickly thought of, but you could make it a lot more detailed. I also want to see more diversity when it comes to recruiting classes, man. Like, Why do we never get, the 6'5" running back with, elite speed, but that's all he could do? He's just big and fast. He can't do nothing else. He'll never be an NFL player, but in your dynasty, he's going to be a super fun player. He's going to be very fun to play with. He might only be an 82 overall, but you got a 6'5" running back with 98 speed, and he's just a monster out there killing them boys in college football. We never get stuff like that, man. Or even like the left tackle that is 5'10", but he's just a dog, man. He's an 88 overall. He's strong, whatever, just throw some craziness out there because we see that in real life here and there, man. You get a 5'10" defensive tackle that's just absolute dog. No chance of going to the league, but while he's playing college football, he's dominating. We don't really get that in the game right now, man. I would love to see some stuff that, at least spice it up or at least add some type of setting where we could put those things on, add some things like that to the to shake things up. And also, I don't know if this is in the game, but it should be like good recruiting classes and bad recruiting classes, just like in real life, man. You'll have a draft class that's going to the NBA. They consider that's a bad NBA draft class. Well, why don't we have that in the game, man? And it should be some way for us to see whether it's kind of like that in Madden. You can see, this position group is weak for this year. Quarterbacks is weak for this year in the NFL draft class. You can see that in Madden. Well, add some sort of that ability to college football so you're able to just get more information, man. We love information. More is better. Next, can we figure out how to get custom recruiting classes in the game? I understand NIL plays some factor into it, and that's maybe why they didn't want to have you be able to fully customize a recruiting class, because you could essentially add players in the game that's not really in the game in real life, that didn't sign an NIL contract with EA. So maybe that's why they didn't put it in, but it's 2025. It's a ruling that's going to come out in the next couple of months that should resolve a lot of these issues with NIL, should give us a lot of answers, and should allow EA to find a way to add things like that. Custom recruiting classes, man. Just more customization to the whole thing. And even to the next thing, being able to import these recruiting classes to Madden. And I totally get it. NIL. You can't recruit these current athletes to the NIL. You can't import them to Madden. I totally get that portion of it. Well, why not you get to the point where you have fully AI generated draft classes? Why can't you import those guys to Madden? Like, I totally get why you can't import the NIL guys, but the fully AI generated ones, we should be able to import that thing right to Madden. Next, let's talk about the transfer portal. And it's boring, man. The transfer portal is boring, and it's not like that in real life. We're in the middle of the transfer portal right now, and it's jumping. Every day, top level players are entering, and top level players are transferring to another school, man. Some players are entering for the 4th, 5th year in a row, man. People are in that thing every single year, going crazy, chasing NIL bags. A lot of different things going on. A lot of nasty stuff is going on in that transfer portal. But in the game, it is super simple. You have about 70 players that really matter in the transfer portal, and that's not enough, man. 70 players that like really is, I'll say, good, that's entering the transfer portal every year. Some years are better than others. Some year you'll have no really good players, and some years you're not able to bring in any people at all in the transfer portal. You'll have no 3 stars interested in you. You'll have no 2 stars interested in you, and you're able to bring in absolutely nobody of value in the transfer portal. You'll have no 4 stars also, and then that just sucks when that's not the case in real life, man. You got a lot of small schools bringing in former 5 stars to their program, man. Like literally, Boise State this past year, they brought in Malachi Nelson, which was a 5-star quarterback, and he transferred to Boise State. In the game, it is rare for stuff like that to happen, man. In real life, 5 stars are transferring to smaller schools all the time. Big players, big time players that, at small schools, like maybe the Alshon Genties of the world, if he came back for another year, maybe he transferred to an Alabama, a Georgia, and, get some big time playing minutes and all of that, and really get some big time looks. And we don't have that at all, man. No big-time players will enter the portal because they're looking for better opportunities. No small-time players, no backups will enter the portal. I literally did a rebuild where we had 8 different quarterbacks, all 4 stars, and none of them transfer, man. And that's an issue. In real life, 4 stars, 5-star quarterbacks, first of all, in real life, you can't even bring in 2 top quarterbacks without one decommitting. In this game, you could literally get 6, 7, 8 of those 5-star quarterbacks commit at one time, and none of them will care. They don't even care that they're not playing. Not the case in real life, man. In real life, if a 5-star is committed to one school and that school decide to pursue another 5-star, that other guy's decommitting instantly. Like instantly, he's decommitting and going to another school, man. Top programs do not bring in more than one top quarterback. Occasionally, you'll see a program bring in 2 4-stars. You'll never see them bring in 2 5-stars. It's just not happening. If I'm a 5-star quarterback, I want to play. I'm not going to go to a school with another 5-star. It's just not going to happen, at least at the quarterback position. Other positions is different where you got multiple guys playing, but for the quarterbacks, that should never happen, man. Got to figure out a way to put that in the game. So really just better AI logic for the transfer portal, and then players decommitting, figuring out that whole piece will really make Dynasty, bring that to a whole nother level. Next, let's talk about more customization to sliders, gameplay, transfer portal, recruiting, all of that, man. I think about 2K. If y'all ever played 2K, like my GM, my career, whatever you want to call it, their whole thing has so many different sliders. You could adjust like the trade difficulty. You could adjust like the draft classes and how good, how bad they are. In this game, we don't have none of that, man. No customization at all. I understand it's the first game in 10 years. You know, they just wanted to get it out, make it a good product, and it is a good product. But when we see what these other companies are doing, it's like, all right, well, can we find some way to put that in our EA game that we love so much, our college football game that we love so much? I think that would really take it to another level, man. Imagine if you could put a slider in the game and you could customize how good your AI recruiting class will be. Like you could max it out, and every recruit is coming in as like an 80, or every 5-star is coming in as like an 87 overall, 85 overall. Yes, it'll be cheating, but like just having that ability to at least customize it could, you know, bring up some fun. Maybe you turn it all the way down. Maybe you turn it down so your top 5-stars is coming in as a 75 overall, 74 overall. Your 4-stars coming in as a 60. That could lead to some fun also. Like just having sliders like that could definitely just shake things up and, you know, keep things refreshing all throughout the year. Next, let's talk about Team Builder. I don't want to say Team Builder was a fail, because it is fun. Like it is creative. It is some good teams out there, but I think it could be done a lot better. Definitely could be done a lot better, man. Like importing the team, it's some glitches with that, some errors with that, all of that. Even the jerseys, you import your jerseys, still be messing up. You gotta go back in, change it, and you spend a lot of time just working on the team builder instead of actually playing the game. I think that's the issue. And then also, is there a way for us to get like throwback teams, like 2019 LSU with Joe Burrow, or maybe 2020 Alabama, 2021 Georgia, 2022 Georgia when they won a national championship? Like, is there any way for us to get some of these legendary teams? I know it might cost money. You might have to go in and, you know, ask these players for their name, image, and likeness and pay them some money to get into the game. I understand that, but that would be funny. I mean, it would be fun if you could, you know, somehow put those players in a current college football league and see how they play. Maybe you want to put in a team from 10 years ago and, you know, see what they would do in, you know, real life college football, man. That would lead to some fun. Also, custom stadiums, man. I think that whole portion leaves a lot to be desired. I think that one is easy to, I don't want to say easy to improve on. Probably a lot of coding going behind that. But I think about MLB, man. If any of y'all play MLB, the Dynasty mode, and then also they have a system where you could create your own Dynasty stadium from scratch, man, and you could customize every single portion of it. You don't have to go that far, EA. We don't need all of that. We just need to be able to take the logos off of, you know, a team. So when I take over, I still don't have Cincinnati. I still don't have Georgia logo on their team. Also, it should be some way to improve your stadium. Like, how do we upgrade our stadiums? But being able to add seats to a small stadium would be cool. But, you know, the Big House Michigan Stadium, maybe you don't want to add seats. It's already 100,000. Adding 20 more thousand would be crazy. But if I'm, you know, a smaller school, or maybe even if I'm Temple and we play at the Eagle Stadium, well, how do I, you know, raise enough money where we could create our own stadium, man? Like, how is that a thing? I think about in EA Madden, we have the head coach and the owner mode. And the owner, you have more customization. You could change like the prices for hot dogs. You could change the price for parking. You could build your own stadium in that thing. You could relocate a team. All stuff like that. Well, in this game, we have the head coach. Well, why can't we have the athletic director? Why can't we? I mean, that would be like the same thing as the owner. Being the athletic director of the program, that's the head coach of the boss. And we'll just have more customization. You could hire your head coach. You could also fire your head coach, potentially upgrade your stadium. You could somehow loop NIL into it. Like, imagine that. Imagine the athletic director, and you could change the prices of your tickets, parking, everything. You have say over everything, and however much money y'all bring in, you could choose to upgrade your stadium, or you could choose to use that money on NIL and players and allowing those guys to build a better team, and you could use the money there. Or maybe you want to use the money on your donors. Host an event for all of them, so your donors go to the event and they come back and now they want to donate more money because you hosted this event for them. You know, just different stuff like that would take the game to another level. So I think they'll add that this upcoming year. Maybe, I don't think so, but in the future, maybe. I definitely think, you know, an athletic director, then a head coach definitely would be cool to see. I don't know if they'll add it though. Next, I think the coach carousel could be done a little bit better. I don't think it's terrible by any means. I just don't like where some of the stuff stands. Like some of the stuff in CEO and program builder, I think some of it is useless, borderline useless, and some of it is very good. But by the time you unlock it, it is not necessary no more. So figure out some type of way to really meet the in-between where some of the stuff is more obtainable, and then also maybe nerf it a little bit where it's just not as good. Because for one, elite recruiter is probably the best ability in the game. If y'all go crazy in elite recruiter, that's probably the best thing in this game, but it's so difficult to unlock. By the time I sign 2 top 5 recruiting classes, I don't need elite recruiter, man. I'm already doing my thing. Next, let's talk about the trophy room. And we don't need the trophy room. We just need some version of it, man, where we could just look back and see who won a national championship last year, who won the Heisman, how many of my players got drafted throughout my whole dynasty. Like, simple stuff, man. And it's crazy that they didn't even add it at this point. It's crazy for it to not be in this game. And we had to, like, keep notes, or we had to have the dynasty tracker on the Google file. Like, we should never have to have some stuff like that, man. Next, the top 25, and then also Heisman Trophy winner, coaching awards, and, like, player awards. I think all of that is wrong, man. The top 25 is better, but certainly wrong. And I have some very key examples. My Temple Dynasty. We just won the SEC championship, or excuse me, the Big Ten championship. We went against Penn State. They was ranked number 1. We was ranked number 2. They was 11-1. We're 12-0. How is that possible? And then we look at the strength of schedule. They literally lost to Bowling Green. They lost to a Bowling Green team, and they're ranked number 1. We're ranked number 2. And how is that possible? And there's a lot of examples like that, man. We're higher overall than them. We're in the same as that conference. Like, our school prestige is a 4.5 star. So I just don't get how stuff like that happen and consistently happen, man. It's where, like, teams are like, how is this team ranked here? Like, this don't make sense. Like, it doesn't make, got to be some better logic to it. And then also when it comes to awards, man, every year my team wins Defensive Back of the Year award. Even one year, I felt like we had one of the worst defensive backs in the league, and he won the award. Like, okay, cool. And same thing, receivers. Like, it's impossible for one of my receivers to win the Receiver of the Year award. I had a guy with 1,600 receiving yards. He led the nation in receiving yards. He wasn't even on the top list. He wasn't on the list at all to win the Best Receiver award. So I think some little stuff like that that's wrong with that the award list, and then also the Heisman race. Last thing I want to talk about is rule changes. In 2K, there's a feature where you could change the rules of the NBA each year and pretty much adjust them to your liking, or you could vote on them. Like, it's different ways to do it. Somehow figure out a way to add that to EA, man. A rule that recently changes is a 2-minute timeout in real life. Well, somehow can we put a rule change where I have the ability to change it? You know, in college football, when you get a first down, the clock stops until they set the change. In the NFL, they do not do that. The clock keep running while they set the change. Well, how is there a way for us to change that rule in the game? Maybe even the 1 foot in. In college football, you only need 1 foot in. NFL, you need 2 feet. How do we, just add a feature where you could change that rule in college football, just like you do in 2K? So I think that would be just interesting, make things a lot more fun as well. All right, man, that's all I got for y'all today. Please drop anything down below. Anything you feel like I missed, anything you want to talk about, drop it down below. I'll try to respond to as many as possible. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that. Follow my Twitch. Appreciate y'all for watching.